Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of The Racing Show. Now this is one of my very first interviews where I interviewed my good friend and racing business partner Craig Rounsefell. Now Craig is one of the leading bloodstock agents in Australia, if not the world. He has brought racing success to just about everyone he's touched. It was a real pleasure catching up with him and I hope you enjoy the interview.
Craig, good morning. It's really good to catch up with you today. You're quickly rising as one of the highest regarded judges of horse flesh in our industry. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background and where it all started?
Hi, Mark. Yes, I'm sort of born in the industry in a way. My family on both sides have been involved in the horse business. My father has an insurance company, and part of that was the bloodstock insurance. So I was attending races and sales from an early age, and my interest grew from there to the point where every holiday I'd spent working on farms and spent time over in Ireland working for John Oxon. I got a lucky break when I started university meeting Gay Waterhouse, and I worked for her for 3 years. And during that time, George Smith, who's he's world renowned, especially here in Australia, as one of the top judges, in the last 50 years. And I got to spend a lot of time with him. So that was a good start for me. And as time with Gay, after I finished university, I finished with her and was likely to get on the Daily Flying Start program. Okay. So travelled around the world for a couple of years and learnt my trade before spending some time in America in the training side before starting out in my bloodstock agency.
How do you rate that Daly scholarship? I mean, I've heard a lot about that, and there's been certainly a lot of people that have done extremely well going through that particular scholarship. Did that really help you grow in regards to your trades?
Absolutely. Like it's a 2-year program, fully sponsored by Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai, who we know here in Australia, who runs Godolphin, owns Godolphin, and they select 12 people from around the world. Each day is broken down into, first part will be hands-on and the second part will be theory. And you spend 2 years starting in Ireland, England, America, Japan, Australia and Dubai. And you got to work with all the leading, trainers, veterinarians, all the learning feeding programs, every aspect of the thoroughbred industry you got immersed in and taught by the leading professionals from around the world.
What a fantastic experience. I believe that, didn't you ducks, I think the very first course that ever was offered. Would that be correct, Craig?
I was on the third intake, and I graduated in first position. So it was a sort of a goal of mine at the start, but we had a great group. A lot of the guys I went through with were still very close friends, and even now, a few of the guys now are training in their own right in America, and I've the last couple of years been buying horses for them. So it's come full circle.
That's fantastic. So along your journey thus far, what would you say your greatest inspiration has been, or whom was your greatest inspiration and support along the way? If you had to name one, if you could.
Well, probably hard to narrow it down to one. My family is we're a very closely unit. Uh-huh. My parents have, they really made a lot of sacrifices early on to give me every opportunity to explore my types of interest. And then more recently, obviously, I've met my wife, and we got married 8 years ago, and she's just been a huge inspiration and my biggest cheerleader along the way. But probably within the industry, it's my father-in-law. My wife's father, he was one of the leading trainers in America, and when I first started my business, he really got behind me and gave me some support and just to see how he built his business up from nothing to be one of the top players in the game, and he was a big inspiration for me.
So what would you be able to share with us maybe just a little bit about your systems and routines that you'd go through, prior to going to a sales, in order to identify those quality horses for your clients? Would you be able to go through with us?
Yeah, the systems, it varies sale to sale. say like a Magic Millions or an Easter sale, or say the main sales in Australia, January Classic, the Classic sale, Melbourne Premier and Easter. Those sales, you'll do research work in the book leading into the sale. I like to mainly not get too bogged down in particular pedigrees. I like to get more, just keep up to date with statistics on stallions, try and find any trends there. And then, you will visit the farms, see the horses in their natural environment. And the more you do that, leading into sales, you get to see where these horses are getting grown up, where they're, spending the early part of their life. And then, once the sales come around, I'll nearly 99% of the time a sale I work, I'll look at every horse in the catalogue. I just think that, you do yourself injustice if you don't do that. And you never know where the good horses are going to come from. So it's important to look at every horse, and look at those, when you look at them, look for the traits that you're looking for that, most successful horses have. And then depending on the clientele you have, the budgets you have to play with, then you sort of, break them down and look what the client wants to achieve and try and find the right horse for them.
Thanks, Craig. Yeah, so you've achieved success at the highest level in racing with horses in recent times, like obviously, winning the US Breeders' Cup, and of course Scales of Justice, the Group 1 sprinter in WA. But you've also had plenty of success, as you mentioned before, with Gay Waterhouse, with horses such as Stan's Hero, which won the Magic Millions, then went on to win the 2-year-old Triple Crown, which also includes the Golden Slipper. However, is there any particular horse that you selected that is special to you? And what would be the characteristics or reason why that particular horse was special to you?
It'd definitely be, obviously, the horse I purchased. It was early on in my business. My father-in-law, as I mentioned previously, one of his bigger clients, he got the backing from them to send me on a mission to find them a horse in Europe. And I selected obviously, and brought him to America, to California. And he was just an absolute marvel. He raced over, he's only recently retired. He raced over 5 seasons. Every year he ran in the Breeders' Cup. And he won 10 graded stakes races and two great Group 1s, and then finally last year was the crowning stone where he won the Breeders' Cup turf sprint. And he's just such a genuine horse. He would be one of those horses that would get out in front and run very fast sectional times and just break the other horse's heart. And he'd love to train, and he just loved game day. And then, just a pleasure to be around, just a true professional. And he had a big heart. Even recently, I took my son, who's only 6 months old, took him around to the barn and met him, and he's just like a little teddy bear. He's just, when it's game day, he's got his game face on, and he's ready to take on the world. But he's also got that kind heart, and I just, he's a very special horse to me. He did a lot for my career early on, and one of those horses that you'll be forever grateful.
Look, you've already achieved so much in racing, but what's the greatest goal or motivation that keeps driving you now, Craig?
I think you want to continue to build. It's racing's a game where you never stop learning. So I really enjoy. I spend a lot of time traveling, working various sales around the world, and it sort of drives me to keep on. I want to be at the top of the game as an international agent, one that does very well in Australia and overseas. And I want that sort of stamp where if people buy horses with me, then they know that if you buy a horse with Boomer, then he believes in that horse, and want that horse to get people to reach the highest levels, to win Group 1s, and the thrill of winning any race is big, but when you start winning the big ones, it takes it to a whole nother level. And I enjoy being around good clients and good horses, and I just hope to continue to build that over the years to come.
That's fantastic, Craig. Look, I know you're an extremely busy man, so you're always jet setting across all different countries, selecting thoroughbreds, etc. But, life needs balance. So may I ask what activities you like to do in your downtime, if there is any? And do you follow any other sports or hobbies apart from racing?
Well, before we had our son this year, my wife and I would always every year we'd travel somewhere new. We'd love to travel to various places around the world and do little trips. And I do love fishing, so we try and sort of cross it in when we can. We did a great trip to Alaska, my wife and I, a couple of years ago, and we try and get that in. But it's obviously hard to do. But we've also, my wife and I, we're all quite strong in the Christian faith. So as time goes on now, we're trying to build in more where we can give back to the community and try and get involved in more of that. My mother-in-law, she does quite a few missionary work in Asia, so we want to sort of be involved in things like that and try and give back. But it's one of those times now. Our time's even got a fuller plate. We've got a little 6-month-old child, so he's got us on the run, and we're just really enjoying the family time now.
Look, Craig, thanks so much for your time. Very much look forward to strengthening our alliance and growing with you along your journey. Really appreciate your time today, Craig.
Great. Thanks, mate.